I was born in London, England, and I'm Polish. I'm an American. I'm also an exile, which I don't think people use that term anymore, but that's an immigrant who can't go back to his own country. My parents were in the Polish army in Italy. That's where they met. And my father, he and my mother got married in Italy, and then I wasn't born until 1949, so about 3 years later. And we arrived here in the United States in January of 1951. We moved to Toledo, Ohio, and my father got a job working on the Kaiser aluminum line making Jeeps for the Korean War. And my parents came here to Chicago to work as domestics, and for about 6 months I was sent up to my mother's family in Canada. So I lived in Canada for about 6 months in the city of Guelph. I have a sister who lives in New York, 6-year difference. She was born in Chicago, and she used to like to tell us she was the only one in the family who could be president of the United States because she was born here. The rest of us had no chance. I would start, I think, out with my parents because they spent a lot of time, not only my parents, but also their compatriots from the Polish community. They wanted, in some sense, in us to recreate what they had left behind in Poland. So I went to Polish Saturday schools in the morning instead of watching cartoons. And then I would go to dance classes for folk dancing. And then there was Polish scouting. The troop leaders at that time, the adults, were people who had earned their scout ranks and scout awards during World War II, when the scouting movement in Poland was part of the underground. And for wearing the uniform or for being in that type of activity, you could be executed by the Germans or by the Soviets. So it was a little bit different than just, soapbox derby or things like that. So we worked with people who had actually lived history. And the jobs that I've had, I think the people who I've worked with have always been an influence on me. And my wife and I have been married for over 33 years. Now she'll probably say that he doesn't listen as often as he should. But even that, I think my wife has had some positive influence on me. And over the years, I've had various classifications. I've been a college graduate, finished 4 years at UIC. I took ROTC at U of I, and they told us back in those 1970, don't make any plans, you guys are all going to Vietnam. Somebody decided we won the war, and then they said, don't make any plans, you're not going on active duty. So I spent 23 years with the Guard and Reserve, and I found it as an interesting experience. I worked for the federal government as a training officer for the National Guard. 131 Infantry, which was originally located on the west side of Chicago on Madison by California. Later on, we moved to the Armory, where the Museum of Contemporary Art stands now. The other interesting thing is the Armory, they used to have polo ponies there, and then they would have people riding the ponies around. And I remember at one time the circus came in, and they had the elephants down in the parking lot of the Armory, and people would come in and pay to buy elephant manure for their gardens. I did work at the Polish Museum, and I worked there for about 18 years as the director. And in the last couple of years, I've been semi-retired. I've been working there part-time as the historian. Well, let's see. The museum is actually in CCA, Chicago Cultural Alliance. I think we're one of the oldest and largest institutions. We were founded back in 1935, organized, opened up in 1937. One of the things we wanted to do was to continue to show the importance of the Polish community in the growth of the city of Chicago, but also to show that the history and traditions of Poland. Since we're talking about over 1,000 years of history, we kind of have to pick and choose what we can present, what might be of interest. For instance, the museum has a large collection of interwar art. I'm hoping that the Polish community does continue to flourish and to maintain its traditions and also its history, because each generation adds to the history of what's gone on before.
Bądź wola Twoja, jako w niebie, tak i na ziemi.
Well, let's see. I think part of it is, I don't want to say lifetime achievement because I hope I still have a little bit time left in there, but I think it's an appreciation of what I've done and maybe also an enticement to continue doing what I've been doing.